Hi everybody, today we're going to talk about the 7 different types of constipation so you can figure out which type or which types you have. So you can have a few different types at the same time. When I had chronic constipation for 10 years, I had a few different types at the same time. I'll let you know which ones when I get into them, but basically by understanding what type of constipation you have, you can understand what the root causes of your constipation are and what you need to do to make daily, complete, healthy bowel movements your new norm. So let's get into this. Before we do though, if you don't know me already, my name is Kaylee. I'm a certified nutritionist and gut health specialist. I love helping people to heal their chronic gut issues naturally using principles like ancestral nutrition and holistic lifestyle principles. All right, so the first type of constipation is going to be weak colon muscles. So this is caused oftentimes by enema or laxative dependence. So that is when you use enemas more than twice a week for a very long time, and your colon muscles actually become weak because they don't have to work to push your stools through your colon and out. Instead, water just comes in, or coffee or tea, whatever you're using, and flushes everything out, and your colon muscles don't have to work. So they get weaker over time. Now, I'm not against enemas. They can be helpful in healing for sure, but you definitely don't want to have them more than twice a week. And even if you're doing it twice a week, you want that to be relatively short-lived and move on to once a week or once every other week as soon as possible, and then get off of them altogether eventually. And then the other thing that can happen here is laxative dependence. So your body is relying so strongly on the effects of laxatives. Again, your colon muscles aren't working properly or normally, and they become weak and less effective at pushing your stools out. This is going to cause slow motility. Your stools are going to move very slowly, or they might get kind of stuck in your colon. So to fix this, you've got to exercise your colon muscles. Same as if your muscles got weak from not working out, you have to work out again to build the muscles. If you used to be able to do 10 pull-ups and now you tried and you could only do 2 because your muscles got weak, you've got to start training pull-ups like twice a week or once a week at least, and then you will build up that strength again to be able to do those 10 pull-ups and then get even better and do even more. Same thing with your colon. Your muscles have just gotten weak because they haven't been being used. So you've got to work them out by giving them the opportunity to work, which means weaning off of those laxatives, weaning off of enemas, not using them quite as often, and actually letting your body feel those stools in there and trying to get it to contract again. Now, there are some more things that you can do to help strengthen them. It's not just a matter of be uncomfortable and constipated. There's a lot more you can do. So you also want to make sure you're not overburdening your colon with a bunch of excess fiber and undigested food. So make sure you're not eating too much fiber, too many difficult to digest foods. That'd be like a lot of raw plants, a lot of raw veggies, a lot of grains, nuts, seeds, legumes, just too much plants in general. That's all going to lead to a lot of excess waste. And then your colon has to work even harder to move all your stools through. So that would be like your lifting weights. You can currently use 5-pound dumbbells to do your curls, your bicep curls, and you wish you were stronger and could use 20 pounds, and you just jump to using the 20 pounds right away. Like that's not going to work. You're probably going to like hurt a bicep tendon, and that doesn't feel good. So if you want to get there, you want to basically use that progressive overload. Start with a smaller stimulus, and then you can work your way up. So basically, you don't want to have a ton of stools that your muscles have to move. You want to start lighter. So it's best if you can just not have as much fiber and excess waste that's going to bulk up your stools so you have easier stools to move. Then you also want to eat a very nutrient-rich diet because certain nutrients are going to help your muscles contract and release. So specifically potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, and protein are going to be super important for the function of your colon muscles so that they can contract and release and move your stools along. You also want to exercise and move your body. Movement of your body will help the movement of your colon. I found this to be incredibly true for me when I had constipation. Exercise particularly more intense exercise like heavy weightlifting or running really helped stimulate a bowel movement for me. So those are all things you can do to get your colon muscles working well again. Some ab exercises can be helpful too. So let's move on to type 2, which is stress induced. So this is one of the types that I had. So basically, when we are stressed, we're not able to have bowel movements effectively because your body views stress as something that's like threatening your life. So if you're in nature and you are confronted with an animal or you're in a battle or something like that, that is not the time for you to squat down and have a bowel movement. That's just not going to go well. And having the intense urge to go then is just going to distract you from dealing with the situation at hand. So stress really prevents your body from being able to have a bowel movement at all. You need to be relaxed for the sphincter at the bottom of your anus to open and let you have a bowel movement. So if you're stressed all the time, it's not going to work. Even if you're not in those life or death situations, your body perceives it pretty similar. So it's still going to inhibit your ability to have a bowel movement. So it's really important that you learn how to manage stress. I have a whole video about how to actually practically reduce stress in your life. So I'll leave that linked in the corner and down below. Having a very relaxing bowel movement routine is going to be really important. This is one of the biggest things that helped me overcome my constipation. So pick your normal time where you'd most often have a bowel movement, or in the past when you had regular bowel movements, when that was. For a lot of people, it's right after breakfast. Make sure that you've got a solid, 20-30 minutes where you don't have to worry about anything right after breakfast, and you can just focus on having a bowel movement, or at least trying to go. Basically, you need to give your body an opportunity where it feels relaxed enough where, okay, it's safe to have a bowel movement right now. It's okay to do this and get in that relaxed state. So when you are doing this, I just recommend that it's not like right before you have to leave for work. Anything you can do to like orient your schedule around being able to have that relaxed time to have a bowel movement. Some people that work really early have found other ways, like they go later in the day. So there's a lot of different possibilities here, but just make sure you have that opportunity. And then also really make sure that you're relaxed when eating, because if you are stressed when you're eating, you're not going to digest your food as well. That's going to lead to excess waste, and it's going to make you more constipated as well. All right, the third type is waste overload. I also had this. So the main cause is too much fiber and undigested food in your diet, and that backing up your colon. So pretty much fiber, we're not able to like break down and absorb into our body. Fiber always goes into your into your colon, and your gut microbiome gets to eat some of that, and then the rest goes out through your stools. So you probably heard a lot before, fiber adds bulk to stools. Well, that's not necessarily a good thing, because it's just adding more that your body has to get rid of. Now, undigested food does the same thing. So if you have a weak digestion and you're not breaking your food down enough thoroughly, then you're going to have a lot of excess food that you have to get out through your bowel movements. So I had a weak digestion. I ate way too much fiber. I ate way too much hard to digest foods, and it just added so much more waste that I had to get rid of when I was already having a hard time getting rid of waste. So don't make it harder. Minimize the amount of waste you actually have to get rid of. How to fix this: cut back on fiber, cut back on difficult to digest foods, eat foods that make less waste, which really are animal foods. So eat way more animal foods than you eat plant foods, and this will get so much easier. The fourth type is going to be laxative dependence. So basically, if you get on laxatives for constipation, that is a quick fix. It's a band-aid solution. It is not addressing the root cause. So one thing with laxative dependence is you've neglected the root cause, which is going to be one of these other types of why you got constipation in the first place. Then laxative dependence can also become its own new cause that makes your constipation even worse. And the reason is because your body doesn't have to do the normal things it would have to do to have a bowel movement. So it doesn't have to contract your bowels in the exact same way. It doesn't have to stimulate that urge naturally. So it kind of gets lazy because it doesn't have to do these things. So it gets lazy at being able to do them on demand, and they get weaker and it doesn't function as well. So then you become dependent on the laxative. So it's kind of twofold. One, you didn't address the root cause that might have gotten worse and worse and worse. And the second one is your body hasn't been functioning as it normally would without the laxatives. So all of these systems that are in place that normally help you go haven't had to work, and the laxatives have kind of taken that burden off. So now when you take away the laxatives, they're not working properly. So you can fix this. You just have to wean off the laxatives and address that original root cause of your constipation. So if you've got this type, you definitely have another type or multiple other types as well. That's going to be important to identify. And then you can also find other things that will help you go in the meantime. You want to choose things that aren't dependence forming. Now it's up to you whether you go kind of cold turkey off the laxatives or if you want to wean off a little bit slower, but you can use things like enemas from time to time. Just don't use them more than like once or twice a week. You can also use different like foods. Like I've had clients that really found stewed apples or prunes or apple juice or beetroot juice or things like that to be really helpful. Hot lemon water in stimulating bowel movements, but none of those are dependence forming. You can also use herbs like slippery elm or triphala. Those can be helpful as well. You could take magnesium, and these things are they're natural, and they're not dependence forming, so they can help you to stimulate a bowel movement while you're working on returning the function of your colon to normal again. Type 5 is microbiome induced. So I also had this one, and if you get gas and bloating, or you alternate your constipation with diarrhea, or you get yeast infections, you definitely have this one. So basically what happens is your microbiome gets off, you get gut dysbiosis, you get an overgrowth of pathogenic microbes, and you don't have enough good microbes. Now these pathogenic microbes produce gas. This gas can lead to fluid being drawn to your colon or drawn away from your colon. If you get the microbes that are producing all this gas that is drawing fluid away from your colon, it'll make your stools harder and more challenging to pass and lead to constipation. If you get the fluid to your colon, it can lead to diarrhea. But that's also how you can get the alternating if those microbes are kind of alternating as well. So you really have to fix your gut dysbiosis, and you want to make sure you're eating a lot of fermented foods. You don't want to be having sugar, you don't want to be having alcohol, you want to avoid antibiotics and other things that kind of bomb your microbiome, like hand sanitizer or really harsh cleaners. I have a whole video about overcoming gut dysbiosis and balancing your microbiome, so I'll link that in the corner and down below. Now, type 6 is going to be weak digestion. I had this too, and I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but this could be from several different things or a combination. It could be from low bile flow. So bile is made in your liver, stored in your gallbladder, and released in response to mostly fat, but also bitter foods or like citrus as well. And its purpose is to emulsify and break down fats. So if you have pale, greasy stools, you definitely have sluggish bile flow, because bile is responsible for the brown color of our stools and for breaking down fat. So if you're not breaking down your fat, it's going to just come out as greasy stools. You could also have low digestive enzymes, so you need a lot of nutrients to make digestive enzymes to help you break down your food. You also could have low stomach acid. Stomach acid is really important for breaking down your food as well. So all of those can lead to a weak digestion. Basically, if you feel like food doesn't sit well, your digestion's weak, you've got that sunken feeling in your stomach, or you feel like rocks are in your stomach, if you feel anything like that, then you probably have weak digestion contributing to your constipation. And like I said before, if you're not breaking your food down thoroughly enough, you're going to have excess waste. So that is the main way that this actually leads to constipation. So you've got to fix your digestive system. You've got to make sure you're getting enough nutrients to make those digestive enzymes. You've got to make sure that you are actually releasing enough bile. So so make sure you are not skimping on your healthy fats. You can include bitter foods like bitter greens like broccoli rabe or dandelion greens. You can also make teas of dandelion and burdock tea. You can have apple cider vinegar water, lemon water, grapefruit juice, things like that all help to stimulate your bile flow. And you can also work on stimulating more stomach acids, so eating when you're relaxed, making sure you're getting enough nutrients to make stomach acid. And then in the meantime, you can do things like have apple cider vinegar water, lemon water, ginger tea, ginger lemon tea, things like that to help stimulate digestion and just break things down a little bit better in the meantime. I also have a free training that goes over how to get your whole digestive system to work like an efficient machine. So if you are struggling with a weak digestion, then you're definitely going to want to check that out. It's linked down below, and it will give you tons of info on how to get your whole digestive system to function properly so that you don't get those uncomfortable symptoms like bloating and gas, and you can have those daily healthy complete bowel movements. All right, the 7th type is compacted dry stools. So this happens often with constipation because the longer that your stools sit in your colon, the more water gets absorbed out of them and into your body. So basically, if your stools are sitting there long, then you're going to get dry compacted stools. But on top of that, there are a few other things that play a role here. So if you're not getting enough fat in your diet, then your stools won't be like lubricative enough to be able to exit your body. And also, if you're not getting enough water and minerals, that can also lead to stools that are a little bit excess in their dryness. So make sure you are getting enough water. You don't have to go crazy, just go off your thirst. Put a pinch of salt in there to make sure you're getting your minerals in, or drink things like coconut water or milk or bone broth that are really hydrating. And then basically, so what happens is you've got these compacted dry stools and they get like bigger and harder and drier, and it just becomes harder and harder and harder to pass them. So this is something that some of the other types can play a role in leading to, like the slower motility. Like if you have weak colon muscles and your stools aren't getting pushed out fast enough, then they can start to dry up and get harder. But it's also kind of a type on its own, because if you've had constipation for a long time and you've been working on the root causes, you might be really close to healing, but just still have a lot of backed up stools that need to come out. So if that's you, this is something you're gonna need to work on. So another thing that can contribute to this like blockage in your stools could be a parasite. It's not super common, but you can get a very large worm like overgrow in your colon and block your stools from getting out. So, if you've tried like everything, it's definitely worth investigating, and you can do some parasite cleansing to help pass that. So back to the compacted stools, it's really important to break those up. So what you can do is you can do an enema or a colonic, and then you want to do a massage either with that or just on its own to break up those stuck stools. I have a whole video on how to do that massage to break up the stuck stools and relieve constipation, so I will leave that in the corner and down below. Make sure you're getting enough fat, water, minerals like I talked about before. If you have a parasite, you do want to do some parasite cleansing. Like I said, that's not super common, but it is a possibility, and everyone's journey is a little bit different. So yeah, that is pretty much how you start moving those stuck stools, and then you're not getting things that get blocked up behind those that then become drier and more difficult to pass. So you can see how this kind of accumulates over time. Anyway, those are the 7 types of constipation. Hopefully now you know a little bit more about what's causing your constipation in specific and what you need to do in order to heal. And if you would like more help with healing your constipation, I actually work with clients to heal chronic gut issues like constipation, bloating, and gas at the root. So if you want to learn more about how I could help you to overcome your chronic gut issues, you can check out a link in the description where you can book a call with me to learn more, and you can start working with me if it's a good fit. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to like, subscribe, comment. All of those help me out a lot, and I really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one.